Hey guys, Jexi here. Welcome back to another video. So, I thought long and hard about addressing this topic, and I decided that, look, my subscribers asked me, they said, "Are you going to address this?" And, I think it's important. Like, my platform is small. I have less than 1,000 subscribers. I don't exactly reach a lot of people, right? But I do have a platform. And I do think it's important for anybody who has a platform to stand up for what's right. So, yeah, so I guess we'll talk about it. Okay, so first off, you're going to have to apologize for me being a little emotional. It's not really a reason. It's just I watch I'm going to link it down below. There's a comedian, JP, who did a video, and again, he's a comedian, and he addressed this topic pretty well. And watching all the videos were hard to watch. And I think that's exactly why we need to watch them. I think that pretending things aren't a problem that we all know is a problem is just going to continue to make it worse. So, for those of you who don't know what I'm talking about, I'm sure the title gives it away, but I'm talking about the Black Lives Matter movement. Now, it's important to know, as you can see, I'm not black, never have been. Um, but I have grown up in a very diverse area. Where I live in New Jersey is actually the same town I went to high school in, and the only thing I remember from my high school graduation was them saying that there were 33 different foreign languages spoken by my graduating class. So that gives you an idea of how diverse of an area I live in. I grew up with people of all races, all religions, all sexualities. I knew what being gay was before I really knew what it was. And if I'm being completely honest, I had heard of racism growing up, but I had never seen it. Now, I can't say whether people who are of different races in my town did experience that growing up. But I didn't know anybody who was racist. And at least it wasn't something they made public. In a very diverse area, if you have racist perspectives, it's not going to be the popular opinion. So I I went to college in North Jersey, and that was the first time I had ever heard people speak about other people in this racist, stereotypical way, right? Like, I never viewed people of different races as being any different, right? But it's just because that's how I grew up, right? Like, I grew up in an area where, like, our classes were made up of all different types of people from all different walks of life. And so it didn't really occur to me, except maybe in the deep South, that there was racism. I really didn't understand it. As I've gotten older, obviously, I see that that was a pretty ignorant perspective, but I'm also grateful that that was my childhood, is because I grew up loving all people and judging people for who they are, not what they look like. I've also been able to pass that on to my own children, teaching my kids that race is the same difference as hair color or eye color or any other color that a person has, right? That the color of their skin doesn't make them any different any more than having blue eyes is different than brown eyes, right? Like, it's just a characteristic of what a person looks like, and it does nothing to say about their personality. I am very lucky that both my kids seem to have taken that to heart, and they get very upset if they see inequality. I'll never forget, my daughter was maybe about 5. We were in Southern Maryland, which was a little bit less diverse than where I grew up. And we were at a playground, and there was these 3 little girls, blonde hair, blue eye, beautiful little girls, and they were playing underneath one of the playground equipment. And they couldn't have been more than 3, maybe. And another a white woman, older, came with her granddaughter who was black, and my daughter overheard the little black girl go up to these little white girls and say, "Hey, can I play with you?" And their response was, "We don't play with people who look brown." And my daughter, remember, she's like 5, came running over to me and was like, "Mom, you'll never believe what they just said." And, when the other little girl's grandmother saw my daughter run up, she come up and she said, my this is what my granddaughter just told me was said. And I said, that's what my daughter heard. And I couldn't imagine, right? So of course I say, "Oh, why don't you play with her?" And so the two, my daughter and the little black girl go play together for the rest of the time. We're at the park, like it's nothing. And you can't say something to those kids' parents, right? Because those kids don't feel that way. Those kids are repeating words that they have heard. So what are we going to say to the parents? Your kids are racist? They're 3. That's stuck with me. That's stuck with me because you can see how racism is perpetuated throughout time. If we continue to teach our children that race means something more than just simply what someone looks like, it's how this problem keeps going on. So part of what I try to do to combat that is, stand up and do something when I see it. I mean, you can't punish 3 little girls who don't know any better. But look, the other thing I want to talk about is when people say all lives matter in to combat the Black Lives Matter movement. I'm going to put, give myself a space, right here on the screen, an image I saw on Instagram. That image really stuck with me, and if you're listening and not looking, it said something along the lines of, "We say Black Lives Matter. We mean all lives matter." I can't repeat it without looking at it. I'll put it up. But essentially, the idea of Black Lives Matter is saying all lives matter, right? That's the point. I just don't understand how people are like, "Well, all lives matter." Yeah, no, right? The fact is, though, is that right now, police brutality against African American people is absurd. It's absurd. And more families are losing their loved ones for nothing. For nothing. And so if this was happening to any group of people, right? We have to make Black lives matter as much as any other life seems to matter. Black Lives Matter, it's essentially saying, like, we are human too. It's not saying that their lives are more important than anybody else's, and nobody's saying that. They just want to be treated as human. And I don't even like to say a sentence like that, like there's something other than people. The color of your skin should not determine the quality of life that you have. We are so far past times of when that should ever be something that we talk about. Like, I don't understand it. I really don't. I don't understand the concept of racism. I mean, I understand that it exists. I can't imagine feeling that way. I can't imagine, like, seeing a black person on the street and crossing the street because I'm scared. Like, I can't envision what it must be like to feel that way. Now, I really strongly believe that everybody coming together is how we incite change. It's how we change things. Look, with all the riots and stuff going on, people are saying that, like, oh, well, they're rioting, they're burning down their own neighborhoods. First of all, stop using they as if there's some other type of species, right? It's ridiculous, and I can't handle it. But we all know that that's not what's happening, right? I lived by Baltimore when when these issues happened years ago. And I still remember very clearly that they had peaceful protests for days. Thousands and thousands of people protesting for days without a problem. It was outside people who came in and started looting and burning down buildings, and those protests had to stop because they weren't going to let some other people take advantage of the heartache and burn down their neighborhoods. It was awful. Nobody's burning down their own home. Look, I can't possibly understand what it's like to be discriminated against in that way. But I do have a voice, and I think it's the responsibility of people who look like me to stand up and say, we support Black Lives Matter. It shouldn't be a thing. As a country, we all, as a world, we all should be able to get behind this. Look, tell me your thoughts. Did I miss something? Is there something else I should have discussed? As I said, I wasn't really going to talk about it on my channel, but I had so many of my subscribers ask me to that I felt it was important that I did so. So let me know what you think. Is there other ways that we can support the movement? I'm going to put links down in the description and probably in a pinned comment that are ways that you can help donate to certain organizations that are doing a lot of good. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let's chat more about this because this is a dialogue that needs to continue to happen until real change is made. Have a good day, everyone.